Hi, I'm Andrew Manzi, InfraWorks Customer Success Manager at Autodesk. And I want to take you through a quick tutorial on how we can create custom bridge components in InfraWorks with the help of Inventor. Okay, so let's have a quick look at this example here. So we have we've got a bridge, we've got a pier with some foundations here. But I don't like the look of this foundation, so I don't like the look of this particular footing. So we can click on it. We can go up onto the right-hand side in the contextual stack, have a quick look and see what's available. In fact, there's not much there. There's only 3 particular types. They're all piled foundations. I'm not looking for piles at this stage on this particular one. And I've got a specific, very specific size and shape which I want to achieve here. It doesn't look as though I'm going to be able to achieve it with what's built in. So what we can do is we can actually use Inventor to create our own footing and bring it into InfraWorks such that it behaves exactly as those other 3 would do. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Okay, so I've just fired Inventor up, and what we're going to need to do is we go over and click New, and I'm just going to pick this standard metric template. Okay, and then you're just presented with an empty space. Okay, now if we go over to the left-hand side, we can click on Origin, and then we have all these planes that we can work in. So I'm going to work in the XY plane, mostly from the top in plan, if you like. And the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to right click on that, and I'm going to say New Sketch. Okay, so the point of this is that we can create a number of different sketches in different orientations and in different planes, and then we can connect them together with extrusions and lofts and other 3D parts to create our main item. Okay, so what I want to do here, our column is round. So what I want to produce is a base which is rectangular in shape, but then as it moves to the top of the base, it transforms to a circular section, so it will marry up with the column. So the first thing I'm going to do here is create a circle to match up to that column. So if we go over to here, we can see we've got a number of different ways we can create circles. I'm going to click this one with a center point, and then I'm just going to click there, and then you can see you can drag this out. Okay, so our column width was 3 meters. It doesn't really matter when you're modeling this because we can change it later. But I'm going to do that. So I'm going to say, what shall we call it? We'll call it cap column diameter. I'm going to say equals 3 meters. Okay. And then I'll have to zoom out so you can see that. So at the moment, you can just see there, it just says 3 meters. I'll press escape, and then if I come down to the bottom here and then hit expression, you'll get the full information. So you can see I've specified this as cap column diameter equals 3 meters. So now all I need to do is just close that sketch down by clicking that, and then I'll hit the home button just so we can see it. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to create another working plane 1 meter below this circle. So I can go over to the XY plane here and then say offset from plane, and I'm going to call that minus a meter. Okay, now if I zoom out a little bit, you can see what it's done. Okay. Okay, and this is where we're going to create the top of the base. Okay, so if I right click on that work plane, you'll see one of the options is new sketch. Okay, so now we're back in plan again. We're back in sketching mode, but we're working in that particular plane now, the one that's 1 meter below the circle. Okay, so now what we want to do is create a rectangle. Okay, so if we go over to the top left again, lots of different ways to create rectangles and all types of sort of rectangular shapes. Okay, so the one I want here is going to be rectangle 2 points, but with a center point specified. So again, I'm just going to click on there, and then I can start to drag this out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify some dimensions for this. So I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe 6 meters wide, and the length maybe just 10 meters to start with. Okay, so there we are. So we've now got this rectangle, and we've got some dimensions. Okay, but what I want to do is I want to make these a little bit more recognizable. So I'm going to just double click on each one of these, and I'm going to give it a name in the same way as I did with the circle. So I'll say I'm going to call this base length equals. Okay, so it won't make any difference to the actual length unless I change the number, but I can give it a designation here. So let's do that, and I'll do that here as well. So we'll call this base width equals. Okay, that's great. So that's all we need to do for this top piece of the base. So all I need to do is just close that down. So finish sketch. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can have a quick look at that. Okay, so now that's done, let's, I'm just going to move this around a little bit. So now comes the fun part. We're going to actually start extruding some of these shapes. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to extrude this rectangle to create the main part of the base. So I'm just going to go over here to the 3D modeling tools, and I'm just going to hit 3D model. Okay, and you can see it brings up the 3D model tool, and I'm just going to click on the rectangular shape itself, and then all it is for us is to type in the dimension here, and that will create an extrusion with that dimension. There's a number of options here below the dimension to say, you know, which direction you want to go, plus or minus, or in both directions. Okay, or you can actually grab hold of this and actually drag it to create the extrusion. Okay, or you can partially drag it and then type in the number, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say a 1500 extrusion, and then click OK. Okay, so you can see it's created our extrusion nicely for us. So the next part is to create this transition between the top of the rectangular base and this circular sketch at the top here. And for this, we'll use a loft. Okay, so we get the Loft tool comes up. So we need to select the face that we want to run from. So it's this one. Okay, so you can see the blue line is highlighted around the top face, and then I just need to click on the circle. Okay, and you can see that has created a nice transition, and I just click OK, and you can see what that's done. Okay, so that's created the shape itself, But there's a couple of other things we need to do now before we start thinking about pulling it into InfraWorks. So the first thing is how we manage the parameters for the shape that we've created. So if we go to Manage, and then you can hit Parameters, you'll see this is a list of the dimensions which are defining the shape, basically. So you see under parameter name, we've got some automatically generated parameters, but we've also got the ones that we typed in earlier, so they're easy to identify. Okay, what we can also do is we can change some of these. So I know, for instance, that this 1500 millimeters here is actually the depth of the extrusion, and in fact if you hover over it, you'll see it says D4 is consumed by extrusion 1. So what I can say there is I can change that if I just click in there and say base depth. Okay, that'll actually work for us, and that'll be useful later on. Okay, so all we need to do now really is to come over to the right hand side and click on the dimensions that we want to be exported so that they're usable in InfraWorks. Okay, so I've done that, and then we click done. And then what we need to do is go to the Environments tab, and you'll see we have this Infrastructure Part Shape Utilities. We can click on there and then say Export Template. Okay, so it brings us a nice view, a little sketch of what we're going to be exporting. We just need to browse to a particular position, so I'm going to say just save it onto my desktop for ease, and I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to say this is going to be new long footing, and then hit export. Okay, that's it. That's all we need to do. We've now created that custom footing, we've exported it, and now the next process is to bring it into InfraWorks. Okay, so we're back in InfraWorks now. So we're looking at that particular pier that we want to change. So we have the top of the pier, and we've also got the base, which is the part that we're actually trying to create a custom part for. So we've got this Inventor part now, and we want to bring it into InfraWorks. So we don't just want to import it as a shape that's just going to sit there. What we want to do is actually build it in to the menuing system so that that we can use it and that others can use it as well. And that way it'll also be available as a parametric part in the same way as any other bridge part that you find in the system. So the way we do that is by looking at the style palette. So we go to the style palette, and you'll see down the left hand side we have these tabs here, and one of them is parametric models. So we can click on that, and you'll see that there's a category for bridges. So we can go in there, and then you can see that there are categories for the different parts of bridges. So we've got abutments, decks, foundations, which we'll look at in a moment, girders, and piers. Okay, so this is a foundation that we're bringing in. So we'll go to foundations, and you'll see there's foundations already in here. Those are the ones that you see when you click on the pile cap here. Okay, so we want to add to this particular category. So we say add a new style, and we get this new parametric models interface. Okay, so we're just going to click here, go and find that new long footing that we saved. You can put a name here, a description here. I'm just going to leave that exactly as it was. Two things we do need to change. Domain, so we need to click that and make sure that says bridge structure. And this is a foundation that we've created, so we're going to tell it it's a foundation. And then there's two other tabs that we can look at. So part sizes. Okay, so in here we can create any number of rows with different configurations of dimensions. Okay, so we can change them when the part is in InfraWorks, but we can set up standard dimension sets here. So I'm just going to call this, if you just double click in there, say basic, I'm going to leave everything else as it is. Okay. Then I'm going to go to user interface appearance. Okay, so these are the parameters that we brought through. So you can see we've got base length, base width, column cap diameter as we had before. But there is a label column here. And what I can do, if I just double click in here, I can make these a little bit nicer. So I can start to space these out. And this column cap diameter here, I can actually make that diameter, I think. Let's just say that. And we'll leave thickness as it is. Okay, and then we can decide which parameters we want to make available to the user and also which ones we want to make editable. Okay, so I think I just want these top 4 to be available. So I'm just going to untick that parameter there, and then we'll only see these 4 in the menu in system. Okay, so you can put other things here like minimum and maximum values, and then a group name. So what this is going to do, it's going to put this title at the top over the dimensions or over the parameters in the menu in system, and we can also group them together. So if we have lots and lots of parameters, we can group like parameters together, make it a little bit easier for the user. Okay, so I'm just going to put in here, I'm just going to call this dimensions. And call it all the same. Okay, that's all that's done. So now all we need to do is click OK, and you'll see it brings in our part. It gives us a default name. I'm just going to go with that, and there we are. Okay, so we can get rid of the star palette now. We don't need it anymore. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is actually apply this to the footing. So if we just click on rounded pile cap, that's existing style, and you'll see in this list we've now got added to it our new long footing. So I'm going to double click that, and you can see it's applied our new foundation. Okay, now if we look to the right, you'll see we have the thumbnail. We've got the general attributes, but then we have this section here, titled dimensions, because that's what I called it on the right hand side in that column, if you recall. And then we have the individual parameters that I specified with those names, and then the dimensions here. And because this is all parameterized, I can actually change these now. So 10 meters long, maybe I want that to be 12 meters. So I just type in 12, hit return, and it's remodeled it for us. Maybe the base needs to be 8 meters wide. There you go. So it's all parameterized. So it works in exactly the same way as any other bridge part that you might find inside InfraWorks. Okay, it's as easy as that. Hope you enjoyed it.